All right, I'm sporting homeless chic today, as you can see. We're gonna work on flooring, suspension, all that cool stuff. This is the Timbren heavy duty suspension. This stuff is no joke. We're gonna build some mounts for that out of flat bar today, get it all painted up, and then hey, if we get lucky, we can play with some caulk. So we've got our board marked out where we want our cut. We'll clamp that down in place, but we always have to consider the offset of the blade of the saw to the fence of the saw. So measure that out. The outside of the blade, we're 1.25 inches to the edge of the saw, which means if we run this through on this side, this will have to actually be 1.25 inches over from where we're cutting so that our blade lines up properly. I don't want to put the tongue in yet. I'm going to coat the smooth side of these with a resin just to give them some waterproof properties, but at least we know it'll fit. Again, I already have the mess. I might as well cut my countertop down to 62 inches, the final width that I need for within the assembly there. First things first with this, tape it. Tape it thoroughly. The tape will prevent the laminate from chipping too badly. Still don't own a pencil sharpener apparently. So for this, we want to make sure our blade is set to full depth as far as it'll go. I believe we're already there. Double check. Yep, 2 inches of cut depth there. We're gonna go in, try to follow it down as best we can, and then come across that way. This is, at best, a crapshoot to do, unless you have like a bandsaw or something. Little bit of adjustment, and I think we'll have it right where we want it to be. Now I forgot to make a door for the back, so we'll whip one up real quick. Took some box sections of the 2x1, and if you watch my video on how I made this work center, I used the same technique by cutting and bending the ends over. This time I just used the chop saw to make my initial plunge cut into the metal. We'll take that, square it all up, and just quickly whip out a door before we close it up for the night. This will sit in here on a piano hinge and some gas struts. Open like that. I'm gonna notch out this section right here so that the suspension clears the frame. I've pre-drilled all of these holes on the actual frame itself. The suspension will bolt through, and then we'll build a plate that goes along the back side out of that steel to support it from the inside as well as the outside, so it kind of sandwiches this entire thing here. Have I mentioned how impressive that saw is? This is not light steel. This is some heavy stuff here. So halfway through welding that, I realized I made 2 lefts. Luckily, one was just tacked. I did have 1 complete weld on there. All that means is that my braces are just gonna be in slightly different positions on the left and right. It doesn't matter. Fuck. Now we need to paint the body, so we're gonna go ahead and clean everything up. I'll use a flap disc on the bigger parts to get the mill scale off, and I'll use a wax and grease remover everywhere else, clean it all up, and then we can start painting. The floor is actually in pretty good shape considering what I did today. Ah, damn it. Okay, we got that mess taken care of. Now we're gonna drill all of our holes in our suspension mounts so that we can bolt them in once everything's dry. If you wanna see what $100 worth of absolutely useless drill bits looks like, this is it right here. And that is the explanation. Don't buy these. I keep getting duped into buying them because they go on sale and they can't even drill 1 hole. In what world are my Mastercraft bits better than the ones I ordered online? Look at this. Unreal. With anything, lots of lubrication is just as important as the size of the tool you're using. Now there's a little bit too much flex here for my liking. I'll build a support underneath here. Like I said, this stuff is no joke. This piece alone is about 60 pounds. Now that that's in, there's holes on the timbered suspension here and here that I'll drill and through bolt with the same kind of hardware. I also drilled some carriage bolts through. This is just gonna help tie this entire thing together. Impact ratchet. This is a good tool. You need to get this. Okay, so we got the grill and everything in. Obviously I didn't show cutting that. It's a self-explanatory process. I marked it out and used a jigsaw to cut it. Suspension is in, ready to go. We can start mounting up the brakes. Whole floor is in and we finally got to caulk. As you can see, I am actually incredibly messy with the caulk. I promise you that's the last caulk joke on this episode. I cannot promise it's the last in the series. Well, for this week, I think we're all done. Thanks for joining. Next week, maybe we'll tackle some aluminum work.